Do you think our government really sets aside the agriculture industry?
Okay. Well, one important thing first that we should know is that agriculture plays a very important role in the economy of our country. So other than agriculture, we have other sectors like the business, we have the government, and many other things. Well, at this point, for agriculture, I think one reason, or I can say that the government has not really set aside, but there are problems besetting agriculture now. For example, we have some problems in the smuggling of rice. Second, um, there are some agricultural crops that are imported from other countries. The reason why agricultural products in our country are not really uh, given importance. No? So the people in the agricultural sector are not really encouraged to go into farming or to develop the land because they really do not get enough money out of it. So if your question is the government really setting aside the agricultural industry? Probably there are some areas that the government should look into so that the agricultural sector will also be improved. Okay?
What do you think is the main reason why the government does this?
What is that? What is this you are referring to?
The as you said, Miss, the um, the government really does not setting aside the agriculture industry. Um, but for other people or person, this the government is setting aside the agriculture industry.
Okay.
What do you think is
Is
the
one
main
reason. Okay, probably, and I think this is the primary reason, because at this year, we are in the digital age. We are in the 21st century, and I know you will believe me, and you will agree with me when I say that people of this decade, people of this year, will not really go into agriculture. Why? Because people are techy now. They are more on technology. They are more on science. People wouldn't like to be in the fields. They don't like to be in research. They want to be in other areas, like in um, technology, engineering, and so on. So probably one reason is that um, many people are not really encouraged to go into into agriculture. So probably that's one.
what do you think are the positive and the negative effects of the agriculture industry?
Okay, positive and negative effect on the industry. What do you mean by that? What do you think are the positive and the negative effect of the agriculture being set aside? Okay, agriculture plays a very important role, primarily because we are an agricultural country. In fact, we claim that Philippines is the rice granary of Asia. We produce bulk of rice. However, it's a fact, no? It's the truth that Philippines is not really producing much rice. In fact, many Filipino farmers would till the land and yet they have to buy their own rice. They're not being fed with their own rice. Why? Because rice in our country is very costly, very expensive. But if the rice is bought in China, in Thailand, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, they are more cheap compared to the price of rice in the Philippines. So one good thing about agriculture is that it should be developed. Why? Because we are an agricultural country. If we do not put importance to agriculture, then we are affected because we are rice-eating people. We eat rice every day. In fact, there are some of us who do not eat rice 3 times. They eat 5 times or 6 times. They eat rice as merienda, right?
Yes.
So it's very important to develop agriculture because our country is an agricultural country. What is the negative effect of if the agriculture is not developed? Then there will be a lot of farmers who will not have income for their family. Our land will be what do you call this will be set aside, and then I'm afraid the agricultural land, which is intended for planting, probably time will come, you do not see any plantations anymore there. What you will see, there will be buildings, factories, things like that. And if that would be the case, the worst that I can see, the worst scenario that I can see is that our country will be importing bananas, mangoes, crops from other countries. And if that would be the case, we do not use Philippine money in buying products from other countries. We use dollars. So if that would be the case, our country would be plunged into poverty all the more. Okay? So I think that those are the things that I can share with you.
Miss, if you were given a chance, would you stop this issue? Or
The setting aside for agriculture, yes. Why? Because agriculture is a very important sector in our country. As I have said, because Philippines is primarily an agricultural country, it should be put priority. The Philippines or our country, the government should prioritize agriculture. And how do we do this? We should go into research. For example, since we produce rice, Philippines should come up with variety of seeds and variety of rice that can yield the best quality, not only for the consumption of Filipinos but also for the consumption of other countries. Because in the first place, we can also export our rice to other countries. However, we cannot do that because probably there are some problems in the implementation or in the policies that are being implemented in the sector of agriculture. One thing that also bothers this sector is the problem of corruption. There are many corrupt leaders, and unless leaders will be very honest enough and righteous enough, then I think we will never develop as a country.
Do you think this will give our country an advantage in our economy?
Definitely, definitely. Why? Again, it goes back to the very essence of what I'm telling, that Philippines is an agricultural country. If we develop from there, I think we will really we can be the best agricultural country in the world only if we develop our crops, only if we develop our the plight and the situation of our farmers, their income and the benefits of the farmers. So I think this will bring a big difference, and it could probably give high gross national product and gross domestic product, GNP and GDP in our country, and that Philippines can become one of the developing countries in Asia that will be hopefully become one of the richest in the near future.
Miss, follow-up question lang po. Yeah, can we use technology to have advantage in the agriculture?
Yes, definitely. But what is the problem? The problem is we don't have the proper technology in the country. Most of our machines, most of the things that we use to process our products are not really made by Filipinos. All these machines are bought from other countries. One reason is because we don't produce metals. It is a fact that Philippines produce the biggest number of nickel ore. We produce the biggest tons of nickel ore in the country. We supply the other countries. But the sad thing is, though we produce the highest nickel ore in creating metal, we don't have metals. Other countries do have, and therefore, that leaves us to nothing. And not really nothing, but Philippines is one of the poor countries because we're not into technology. Why? Because probably God has endowed us not with technology, but we're endowed with agricultural products. So the best thing probably is we enhance these agricultural products. Probably we can also think of other ways and means to develop our own technology. Why? Because Filipinos can do that. Because Filipinos are intelligent people. Filipinos are very creative people. And only if man will, or Filipinos will come to, will contribute something in coming up with programs to develop our crops, then I think Philippines could be one of the most developed countries in Asia.